There are some extra seats out front. Can you come over? Raise your hand if you have a seat next to you. I want everybody to have a seat, please.
There's some chairs here.
Sure.
Buenas noches a todos. Buenas noches. We joined with Lydia Velasquez. We joined with the council member to ask IC for more time. And we appreciate that you all supported that effort. And there was a very purposeful process that we engaged in. And I just want to make one thing very clear tonight. That tonight does not represent by any stretch of the imagination the end of that process. Okay? It's not, we started this process. So a couple of things. Let's try to listen to each other tonight. Stop wasting our time. Okay, so like I said, let's try to listen to each other.
Let's listen to what they have to say. I'm with you, sis.
Okay, so we're gonna try to get through this tonight, but we have to listen to each other. And I know that for some of us, that asking you to listen to each other somehow is some kind of an insult.
That's like we're listening.
Yeah.
Say no.
Okay. when you interrupt, you're not listening. And so I'm not wasting your time. I'm trying to start a meeting. So we are here tonight, again, to listen to our council member. And it's worth just repeating that in the months leading up to this, we've had a lot of conversations with a lot of you in this room. We've had a lot of engagement. This community board has been really taking very seriously the idea that the ULURP process is broken. And the notion that we get 60 days to review very complicated materials and come up with recommendations that are going to be so consequential. And the notion that we can do that in 60 days, frankly, is offensive to me, and it always has, and it always will be. So we started a process where we wanted to amplify that whole process. And we're hoping that what we've done in this community board is going to serve as a model for the city. Because again, the idea that 60 days for something so consequential is somehow enough time for us to get together as a community is laughable. So tonight, what we're going to do is listen to Councilmember Menchaca's, basically the synthesis of all of the information he's received, of all of the questions you all have, and he's going to give us his vision for how and if a rezoning is possible. So let me make that very clear. Right now, there is no rezoning, and there hasn't been. And tonight, we're going to hear the next piece of this puzzle about how do we move forward, and if we move forward with a rezoning. So with that, I want to thank you all again and give the microphone over to our council member.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Buenas noches. And good evening. My work that young kid is a regular in the office, and one day, buddy, you're going to be the next council member of this neighborhood. And the work that you do, I know is going to be beautiful. Thank you for speaking up. Today's a special day, not just because we're here in this room, but for me too. It makes me think about the ancestors that we're all connected to. Specifically, my Mexican ancestors. Today's El 16, an Independence Day. I say that because the ancestors that we think about aren't just the ancestors that we bring with our own history. It's the history of this land as well. In Sunset Park, in Brooklyn, in New York, the Nape people were the first nation of this entire area. And we think about them, and we should be thinking about them, and the decisions that we have to make together as a community. So let's just bring those stories, untold, and the connections that we have to our own ancestors. And as we think about those hungry for justice in Mexico that led to a revolution and brought independence, they live in me, they live in you, and they live in us. So let's just keep that in mind as we move forward and think about what is ahead of us. Now I know that a lot of you are coming with so much anger or excitement or frustration or questions. The space that I want for us tonight, and I want you to help me make this happen, is for understanding. And I have a presentation before you that when you leave, you'll have all the understanding that I have. And I want you to have that because it is right. It is right for you to have that information so that we can continue to make decisions for our community, because that's what we've been doing. Not just us, the people who are alive and well right now in our community that have the privilege to be here today. And I know that not everyone got to be here today, but I hear you and I see it. Thank you. And so it's going to be up to us to talk to each other after this presentation so that the communication can continue. Because it's not over after today. And so let's get a sense of who's in the room. I see a lot of colors, I see a lot of faces. How many of you live in Sunset Park? Raise your hand. How many of you speak another language at home other than English? Raise your hand. Presente. How many of you are worried about the future of Sunset Park? Raise your hand.
Oh yeah. We are.
I want to say, how many of you love Sunset Park? I'm with you. I love Sunset Park too. And that's why I've invited you here for this talk. As we think about Sunset Park's future. You see, I believe, and our work together in the last 6 years as a council member, I hope has demonstrated this, that I believe that we can work together to build that, to build community power, to shape our future. And to do that requires every part of this conversation to happen openly and transparently. And I want you to take a notice about what Cesar said and the community board has done. There is no rezoning, and yet we are here talking about a rezoning that has yet to get filed. That is the power of our community, and through my office, we've been able to stop that because of you. So thank you so much for standing with me for this work as we continue to talk about this conversation. But not everybody wants us to have a discussion. And so you have probably seen in the news some rumors and brains about deals being made and things being done that couldn't be farther from the truth. And I want you to hear that from me directly from my mouth. That is not true. That is false information. And for us to continue this conversation, you need to believe that. The work that we do continues to have whoever did this, and I really don't care who did it, but this is the kind of energy that destroys our ability to stay united because the forces outside of us want us to be divided, and I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to get bullied by anyone so that I can have a conversation with you. It's not going to happen today, it's not going to happen tomorrow, it's not going to happen ever. Because here's the thing. This article talks to us about me rushing to make a decision on any way, in any direction. And I have to tell you, because that's the truth. I've never felt rushed. And so the reports that I'm going to walk you through today are really about that moment in time that I've taken, not rushed, to understand what's before us. And so I asked a delay because we needed to analyze everything. And I asked for a delay to study it, to reflect back to you what I'm hearing, the conversations that I've had in community board meetings, at my office, in your home, on the ferry, on my bike, wherever. I'm having conversations with you about what you want. So tonight is about you being reflected in this conversation. But we've been here before, Sunset Park and beyond. We have been here before. Let's think about SPMT, the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, just blocks away from here. The city of New York, the mayor and EDC had an idea about what to do there. But guess what? We said no. And we spent 6 months sitting down and talking about the things that we need. And we reshaped how this whole proposal happened so that jobs, good jobs, labor could come in and do the work that they could do at SPMT. So that an RFP reflected the values at the front of an RFP at EDC that had never happened before. So that any business that wants to come to New York City and develop here gets to hear and read directly about what community wants. That never happened before because we took our time and we didn't rush and we said no. Let's talk about schools. In this district, there are 7 new schools coming to district to impact overcrowding because we know, even before I got elected, that this is one of the most important things that this community could ever do. And guess what? 7 schools are coming.
Oh yeah.
7 schools have been approved, and they're in construction right now. And they're providing for us an opportunity to educate our community and our kids for the future. That's us working together.
Oh, yeah.
Affordable housing. We approved affordable housing, 100% affordable, with a brand new library. 51 units of affordable housing. That's us. And that's working with you, our community. We did that together. And then finally, participatory budgeting. Over $20 million of ideas have come into fruition in terms of the budget, and some of those projects you're starting to see now. in our parks, in our schools, technology, to ensure that our kids have the best possible outcome for their education. Those are your ideas that you decided on, and there are more people voting in this district than any other district in the entire city. Thank you. Keep coming out. And there are more people voting in participatory budgeting than the people who elected me for the Democratic primary. That's the power of community. That's the power of you, and I want you to keep coming out to support it. So finally, we are a community that wants to build up our community and our neighborhood. And that requires vision and resources and patience and political power. It requires a lot, and we know that because you experience it every day. I love our neighborhood, Sunset Park.
Yeah, we do.
You love Sunset Park, right? We are a community of immigrants and working families and small businesses and social justice warriors, climate justice warriors. We're a community that's diverse and beautiful. But we also have some challenges. And I want to reflect back to you some of those challenges that we see, that are very real, that are causing the pain that we're feeling, that I'm hearing, and that I'm seeing with all of you as we talk about this. Our rents are going up in the city.
That's one.
And we are all feeling that pressure. No matter what corner of Sunset Park in the district, you are feeling your rents going up. I hear you. I heard you. Our people are being displaced. I'm talking to housing advocates on the ground, and they're saying that by the dozens and even more on a daily basis, and many of them are coming to my office for help and support because their landlords are trying to evict them because they want a higher price in their housing unit, whether it's a 3-family home or a 16-family home. And it's not just the prices, the housing is falling apart. And that is what I'm hearing over and over again from you that I understand is an important thing for us to address. Our landlords, many of them, not all of them, many of them are neglecting our people, us. Many of you in this room today, and they're harassing you. We have some housing challenges. We also have jobs and education challenges. We're not building the pipelines for our communities. And I'm not satisfied with anything that the city has given us up until this point. And so the things that we're doing are at the margin. When we think about EDC, when we think about SPMT, these are good things that we are seeing today and the promise for jobs, but there's a pipeline here that has not yet impacted our immigrant community that don't speak English as their first language, that have education that needs more so that they can be trained for the jobs that are coming. And that is a big concern. Because we have wind power coming to SPMT, the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, and green jobs. We just passed massive legislation, some of the most progressive and aggressive, thanks to many of the people in this room fighting for it, so that we can actually upgrade commercial buildings with jobs. But the question is, are they going to come to Sunset Park? And we need to connect our kids to that future. And that is one of the most important things that I've seen today as a lack of opportunity for our kids. There is no sense that we can say that our kids that are going to PS 169 or 124, that they're going to get any connection to jobs. None. Well, let's talk about the manufacturing that is around Industry City. We're not too far away from it here today. Our waterfront, our working waterfront, the waterfront that this community has been protecting for so long, is losing companies to other cities across the harbor because it's too expensive here. Our manufacturing spaces are competing with tech companies and office workers and office companies that are coming in. And guess who loses? We do. Because it's our people who are working in those manufacturing. And I know because I go and I see them. And some of you are here today. The thing is that speculation, what does that mean? It means that people, companies, developers are buying property to transform them and then sell them. To transform them in their vision, not ours. And that drives everything up. Taxes, cost of rent, not just for our housing, but for the businesses on the other side of Third Avenue. And I heard that from you. So overall, we need to create jobs and opportunities to support our families here at Sunset Park. Well, guess who's talking about this? Guess who has a vision about this? That's Industry City. Industry City has a vision. Industry City has a Okay, look.
We have a vision too.
I'm not done with this presentation. Listen, I get it. You have a vision too. And I want you to see it reflected here. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. And so I'm going to ask you, let me get through the presentation so you can understand everything. Your neighbors have come here to understand everything that I know and getting through it. We have neighbors, including Industry City, and guess what? They are our neighbors. And we have They're here.
And they have more money.
They're here.
And they have more money.
And they have more money. But let's talk about that. Let's break this down. Industry City is a privately owned piece of property. Look, I'm not going to talk over you guys. Okay? So here's I'm going to do this right now so we can just be clear about what we're doing here and what we're not doing here. People came here to listen to the things that I have worked on for a long time, and that's what I want to deliver for all of you. So let me just very respectfully ask everybody here, because there's some folks that don't want me to get through this presentation, and I know that you have a lot of important things to do after this, like eat, or take care of your kids. And so I want to respect your time, but if your neighbors are not going to respect your time, then we can all just go home right now. So if you can, raise your hand if you want me to continue to finish this presentation. Look around, neighbors. Look around, neighbors. Look around, neighbors. Thank you. Thank you. That question was not about supporting anything. That was about understanding. I'm not going to talk over you. I'm not going to talk over you. Because guess what? If this happens again in this presentation, we're gonna stop. And then guess what? We're gonna stop. I'm just letting you know what's going to happen so you can have expectations that are understood. We're going to stop. And no one is going to bully me into not connecting with their neighbors. And so I will find a way to
You're bullying us.
Let's keep going.
You are the
Thank you. So Industry City, they are a privately owned property. But they have a lot of property. And they have a massive commercial. These guys.
I voted for you.
All right, guys, shut up for a second. Let him talk.
We want to hear.
It's the same people.
Let him talk. What you gotta say?
People cosmetics or things.
They're commercial and landlord property. They're just down the street. They're not too far away from here. And they own buildings that were built in 1990. That's how old these buildings are. They're historic. And they bought them in 2015. Now, they have bought and invested tens of billions of dollars in them. Got lots of space, 16 buildings, 5.3 million square feet. 5.3 million square feet. That's massive. Some as tall as 170 feet. Now, I want you to just see the comparison. What we're talking about here, and why it's important that we're here to listen to each other, not talk over each other. We have comparisons here. The Freedom Tower is 3 million. We have, I just want to get this slide up. Get the comparison. I just want to make sure that. So, you know Brooklyn RV Terminal, 2 buildings, 4 million square feet. Industry City is 16 buildings, over 5 million square feet. This is massive. This requires us to all understand what's in front of us. And I know some of you do, but this is how I think about it in terms of how much space we're looking at. There's so many things happening here at Industry City. Job training, office space is sprouting, retail, events. You're seeing that happen over and over again at Industry City. There's a transformation happening there. And when they arrived in 2013, there were 150 businesses. This is a small list, by the way. There's like 400 more businesses there. And in 2013, you had, when they arrived, 150 businesses with 1,800 jobs. As of this year, now this is in relationship to a letter that was sent to me and the community board. They now have this many jobs.
This is literal propaganda.
This is, let me get through the presentation. This is from a letter that was given to me and the community board about this year's. This is from Industry City. This is not my presentation. This is them. Guys, stop. This means that there is a massive change in how and what is happening at Industry City. And we're already seeing it without a rezoning. Without a rezoning. And guess what? We're also talking about people who have businesses there that are from Sunset Park. And there's people here who work at Sunset Park. And those are our neighbors as well. And so what I want to just give you a sense and picture of is that this is a transforming, massively transforming community. But guess what?
Sunset Park is not for sale.
Guess what? You're fucking gentrifying Sunset Park, Carlos. You're a fucking sellout. And you know
Okay, so let me say this. There are kids in this room, and if you use those language again, I'm going to ask you to leave.
Nobody wants
This is the
industry
website that really
want
talks
an answer.
about. I'm sorry,
Those
guys.
same kids will not be able to live here if we keep
I need
doing
you-
this shit with you. You know it. We will not be able to live here.
Let's talk about.
Campbell's numbers?
Guys,
This looks
please.
like a yes. You're
Please.
using Andrew Campbell's
Please.
numbers?
Stop.
You think we're stupid?
Stop.
We're trying to divide us. You stop. And say no to this so we can still live here. You're gonna have a bunch of residents.
You have some challenges here, but I want to share with you.
Let him finish.
I'm going to do this again. I just want information.
Hurry up!
No, we're not going to be rushed. I'm not going to be rushed. I'm not going to be bullied. We're not going to do this right now. I'm going to ask you to leave. I'm going to ask you to leave.
You're gonna ask community members to
Let him
leave,
finish.
so you can sit here and give your presentation
Absolutely.
to people who don't live
Because
here.
our neighbors want to understand.
Yes.
Let's go
Your
forward.
neighbors are leaving because you're wasting our time.
There's a door. Okay, let's talk about what is allowed right now at Industry City. Let's walk through this. Right now, with the current zoning, many of you understand the zoning that is there right now. It's manufacturing zoning. M3, if that makes any sense to you. These are the things that are allowed. Manufacturing, retail, office, events, and job training. These are the things that we just reviewed. So next slide.
Oh my God.
We have the Innovation Lab, and I want to say that I have been part in supporting the work that they've been doing at the Innovation Lab, and the partners below there have been doing their best to try to figure out this question about a pipeline. They have statistics that really talk about what they did in the last year, and I want you to look at it. 114 jobs. 80% of those jobs are jobs that went into Industry City. The other side is that you had 36% of them, or about 40% of them, go to Sunset Park residents. Something is working there, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
Just go check the math,
It's not
that's
enough.
20.
But there is a vision there that is worth understanding and highlighting, because those are our neighbors. Next slide. So why are we
So
here?
why are you freaking? Wow.
So in Industry City, and everybody there, Innovation Lab, and the stuff you're doing, and the the loans that were taken to come in and do this work. It's happening. You're seeing it. Why are we here? We're here because they have been working on something called a rezoning. This rezoning, in whatever language,
Yeah, little girl, you go, girl.
in whatever language that you have, in whatever language is confusing, so we're going to walk through it. Let's go through what an actual rezoning looks like. And the best way that I can describe it to you, whether you're a land use lawyer or not, they want to change the rules about how to use their property. It's their property. They own it. It's not EDC property, it's industry city property.
But it's all
Private
rules. It's all
property.
rules.
Yeah, you go,
The-
girl.
But there are rules that are designated by the city.
Our rules.
Rules about how to use zoning. Here's what they want. Next slide. Because we have to ask this question, what do they want? Because guess what we're going to do? We're going to compare it to the things that we just talked about that are making everyone angry, that are making people frustrated, and I want you to understand the analysis and how we can actually compare the things that they want to the things that we want. Move on to the next slide. They want more space. Renee, is there a slide before this? Okay, let's talk about it. Change the rules. They want larger retail stores. They want hotels. They want university. They want to build higher. And they want 3 new buildings on campus. This is essentially your application. They want large retail stores, big box. They want hotels. They want university. And they want bigger buildings. Next slide. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Commercial, they're taking us away.
They
from
want
the
retail
small
streets.
businesses on Fifth
So you've
Avenue.
already kind of seen what's been happening if you walk this inner city. You guys, please stop talking. I need to get through this presentation. And then you can do whatever you want afterwards. Please.
Yeah, you can tell I was actually never going.
They want. This is a snapshot of what they want in their application. We've distilled it to really kind of respond to how people are thinking about industry cities rezoning, and this is what they want. Next slide.
What about the money for their investors?
So here's my questions that I really want you to understand, and they're distilled because we're trying to communicate to folks. Pay attention here. We talked about education issues. We want to understand, is Industry City's proposal impacting, and how is it impacting education in our neighborhoods? I think it's a maybe.
How does it not impact
Maybe.
rent and eviction?
Local hiring, you already saw that we have an innovation lab that is doing some work. Could this be positive? Potentially, maybe. Let's talk about rents and evictions. Let's talk. Let me walk you through what I think is possible. Will rents and evictions, is there an impact? Let me explain what the no means. There is nothing that's happening. You guys, there's nothing that's happening in this proposal to impact it in a positive way.
That's right.
This is all positive. There's nothing positive that I believe in the research that we've done with our team that says that saying yes to this proposal will say good things about rent and eviction. That's true.
Stop trying to confuse the point. You're literally like actively
Housing quality.
confusing people.
Let's talk about the housing quality that we've seen today, that's happening today in our community. Housing quality.
You need a
We
proof.
don't think that this rezoning has any positive impacts on housing quality. And then finally, will this rezoning protect our manufacturers?
No!
No. 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 Actually, this one is no. This is no. Okay, next slide. So here's my question to all of you. Should we rezone with the plan that we have in front of us?
No!
I agree. But I'm not done yet. Because we've also done some analysis. We've done some analysis to ask the question, what happens when we say no? Because here's the thing, I do not want any responsibility where I do not take responsibility to give you everything. I'm going to give you everything tonight. And I want you to have some patience as you walk through. What happens when we say no? Because we've done.
No job.
Let's talk about it. But we can talk about it after I finish this presentation. Okay. So what happens when we say no? Next slide. Guess what happens when we say no? We assert our community power. We assert- And you know what else I believe? Is that we're not going to make the things that we're seeing every day coming through my office, the neighbors that talk to you every single day about their housing situation, the things that we're seeing on climate change, all of these things, we're not going to make them worse. They're just going to keep happening with the no. And that is a great thing that I want you all to understand what a no means, is that we get to not change what's happening. Everything that is happening right now in Industry City will continue to be happening. Because guess what? Guess what? They have a loan to pay, and they're like any other capitalist animal, they're going to have to pay those loans back. And guess what? We don't have any opportunity to do that.
That's their problem.
No,
That's their problem.
no corporate welfare.
So I'm going to give you everything. Let's talk about private investment. Will continue. We'll have no influence over Industry City, who's a neighbor. And guess what? Our challenges will continue to be unaddressed. So let me walk through some of those challenges and how I think we can address them. Next slide.
So saying no means we can't do anything else.
That's what he just said.
That's what you just said. If we say no, we can't do anything else. That's
How about I
what.
finish the presentation? How about you just calm down? Just
No, I have a stake.
calm down, please.
I have a stake in
What we're
it.
trying to do
Yeah,
is-
you came in here, they don't.
And then
So
we
when
can
they
talk
say
about
yes, they hold up their yellow sign.
You know, one of
They don't give a shit.
the things
Yeah.
one of the things that's really important about this is that we're going to continue to sit and talk about this. Because remember, I just have to remind you, there is no rezoning today. There is no rezoning today. And I will not be rushed in this presentation tomorrow. That's just not what's going to happen. So let's get through this presentation. Let's talk about the challenges again. Because we all know them and we all feel it. Housing, tenant harassment, poor housing quality. Will this rezoning affect those things positively? If we say no, I do not believe that we will have any opportunity to impact them from saying no. Let's talk about jobs and education. One of the things that we care about in our neighborhood is protecting the working waterfront. I think that's an important thing in our community. That's what I heard many people talking about when they walked into this room. Do I believe that if we say no, can we protect the loss of manufacturing? I think it's a no. Can we address school overcrowding by saying no? I don't think so. And can we figure out how to really address employment and connecting it to a pipeline at or in and through Sunset Park? I think it's a no. Let's keep moving. So what happens when we say no? Well, guess what? We get to understand if there's another way. And I want you to walk with me as we go through this piece, because this is important. The next thing is I want to talk a little bit about how our community has been so vociferous, has been loud, has been using their voices to figure out how we get some of the stuff that we need. They've come in terms of plans. They've come in terms of ideas and fears. And I've pulled together a project and a opportunity. But this is very important. You have to shape that together. And when I look out into this room, I see unions in this room. I see parents. I see students in this room. I see businesses in this room.
Small businesses, yes.
I see educators in this room. Guess what? We can all assert our power together. I want to walk you through this. Next slide. I think there's something we need to talk about. It's called Industry City Our Way. Industry City Our Way. Because someone so eloquently said, these rules are designed by the City of New York, and these rules will be changed by the City of New York, us. Let's go through some of the things that I think can happen. 1, no hotels. Yes. No hotels. Yes. Second, we want to reduce the amount of retail. They're asking for the ability to go up to 900, or limit themselves to 900,000 square feet of retail. That's massive. That's massive. I think we need to limit the amount of retail that they have the ability to do right now. I think that we need to, believe me, you want to limit retail. You want to limit retail. We want to create a manufacturing hub at Industry City. And there are some incredible experts in this room and beyond that really can think about how to protect the working waterfront isn't being done right now with the current zoning that we have today. Which means that we need to change that by creating a manufacturing hub at Industry City. Next slide. The work that we have to do with this project is probably the most inspiring part of what I think about our youth that need access to these jobs. I think that we need to have a public technical high school at Industry City that embeds itself into Industry City that allows us to have our kids a future that we want. This, for me, is not only exciting as someone who I think believes in the work that our public education, but the fact that we have 7 schools coming at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and I want to invite you all to go look at it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, and it's a great model. Next. We need more funding for tenant organizing and tenant protections. We need more funding for tenant protections.
I don't want their money. I don't want their lawyers. I don't want their organizers.
I'm not sure what some of you do, but this is part of the presentation where I want you to respect the work that tenant organizers in our community have done, and I think that they're asking us to do, and the work that we do at the City Council, the work that we do at the City Council to ensure that we get the funding.
We want to be able to stay here. We're talking about displacement and tenant organizing.
And the work that we do as tenant organizers in our neighborhood is important, and it needs to get renewal more.
You know, you're talking to organizers in your
Oh, I am
neighborhood
talking to organizers, and guess
telling
what?
them
This is an idea that is coming from the organizers that they want more funding. And guess what? I
But
agree.
we
We need more funding for organizing. We want to give Sunset Park
Public
access
money, not
to
private
free
money.
lawyers. We need more lawyers to prevent us from
We
being
don't
evicted.
want to be. We don't
That is
want
an important thing as we move forward to address the work that is ahead of us in this neighborhood. Next slide. Okay, this is also very exciting. I think that the manufacturing hub, and this is important, because it has to be managed not by Industry City, because that is not a trust that I can have with a private company. The words are great, but I want a mission-driven organization, a nonprofit that can actually say yes and what and define ourselves as a manufacturing district, a hub, and get it ready for all of those jobs that are on their way. I think this is important. But that's not all. We need more training, and we need more training to come for those jobs, climate mitigation jobs that a lot of you have been studying. We need that to happen here, and that convening power needs to happen here by EDC and by Industry City. And it needs to happen now. And we need to that are on 4th Avenue, that are on 8th Avenue. Those businesses deserve some respect and ability to grow their business thanks to Industry City. And so that has to be clear. And there's a lot of local work that can happen that we're not seeing right now in a big way. But it can't come from Industry City. It has to come from our community. Our community can actually design the work that needs to happen around local business interventions. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So funding. We need to support the preservation of affordable housing. We need funding to support tenant organizing. Let's go to the next slide.
Can you clarify this confusing point for us?
This is an idea that was interesting. There's an incredible organizing effort that's happened, that's come to fruition in a partnership with Uprose and EDC. This one thing, if you take away nothing because you don't want to listen, make this your thing that you want to do. Connect to the solar cooperative, because that is happening here in our community, at Industry City. They promise. I think that Industry City should be. Here's the idea. Agreed. Here's what we're talking about. The work that a private developer can do to support our community worker cooperative, that's all I'm saying, is important. And we think that they should do it. Next slide. So here's where we're going to take all these ideas. If your neighbors are near you, help me.
Just say no.
So, here we go. The city council has a responsibility here to review this application. And the city council has an opportunity to make it clear about what we're not going to do. But we're going to do and use two things that I want to make sure that I say to you tonight, and that's the power of this office that I hold today. We're going to regulate and legislate.
Andrew Kimball runs this shit.
And we're going to regulate and we're going to legislate. No hotel. There will be no hotel. We're going to further limit retail on the property. We're going to ensure that manufacturing uses happen. And finally, this is an exciting one because this came to me, an idea that we have. And if some of you have been working and understanding land use battles across the entire city, you know that neighborhoods and neighborhood rezonings have led to some really difficult discussions. And what neighborhoods have done through the work that we're doing at the City Council that I supported is force EDC to go do door knocking in every business and actually count the jobs that were promised by the developer, to hold them accountable for the jobs that they said they're going to bring to the neighborhood. And so we will legislate. And so we will legislate, because the legislation right now only connects EDC and that responsibility to neighborhood rezonings that were pushed by the mayor. Now, I had a lot of problems with those rezonings. And EDC is now counting those jobs by law. I want that to expand so that EDC can go into Industry City and count those jobs. The jobs that they're saying they're going to bring to us. Count the jobs.
No.
Thank you. Okay. And there's some more ideas about reporting, because I'm not happy with the reporting that's happening right now.
Yeah, but you're backing him up.
Next
There's an
slide.
article that says that this was on your plan.
The work that needs to happen can't all be at the City Council. There are limits to what I can do. There are limits to what I can do.
You can say no. You can say no.
We're going to need someone else. We're going to need the mayor and his agencies to come and invest in our neighborhood.
Just
We're going to
resign
need
and
the
take
mayor
your job
to
in
come out
Jamestown.
and invest in our neighborhoods. Let's talk about some of those ideas. They need a technical high school.
We don't need a technical.
And this technical high school cannot just be a technical high school for kids. This has to be for our